The Cache Valley Media Group's countdown of the top 25 Aggie football players for the year 2023. And in the vote count, no doubt about it, the number one guy going into this year, the exciting Ike Larsen. The safety from right here in the Valley. Ike is 5'10", 170-pound sophomore. Originally Logan High School, then went to Skyview High School, and he is number one going into the year. Our number one guy on the Cache Valley Media Group's countdown is safety Ike Larsen.
This is one heck of a standout player for Utah State. When he gets in the game, he just has a knack for making plays. When he's healthy, he knows where the ball is going to go, and he seems to find himself there. And not just on in his role as a safety and in the secondary, but also on special teams. This is a guy who also blocked kicks and applies pressure to opposing special teams. So Ike Larsen, very special player for Utah State, and as Al said, he was a special player at the high school level as well. He just made plays wherever he was on the field. And we saw him in limited action last year because of injuries, not because coaches were holding him out. But based on what we know about Ike and his impact on plays when he was in the game, it was almost unanimous that he was number one in all of our lists for the top 25 Aggies of 2023.
Yeah, I thought there might be some question because, last year our top 25 was pretty universally, well, it was just universally Logan Bonder. This year I wonder if there was some question, but seemed we were just about all in agreement that Ike Larsen was the best player. As you mentioned, he's a guy that just makes plays. Like there's not really a way to describe a player who's just able to make plays. Like wasn't this tackling machine, but he just wherever the ball was, he somehow found a way to be there. Even early in the season where he was playing more special teams than he was on defense, he'd play like a dozen or so snaps, and he'd somehow end up with a blocked punt and an interception and like a tackle for loss and a sack. And you're like, you played like a dozen snaps. How did you end up leading the team in like three different categories? And that's kind of what Ike Larsen was. And, early in the season, he was on special teams, a little bit on defense, but then he did. The coaches, they thought, God, play this guy. He's making plays.
Can't keep him off the field.
Yeah, they could not keep him off the field. And ultimately, injuries ended up keeping him off the field later in the season. And even still, he led the team in interceptions, set a school record for blocked punts in a single season. Oh, he's a guy that made an impact whenever he was out there on the field. And so really, we're expecting a guy, if he plays the whole, 12, 13 games, is out there, for most of the defensive snaps, we're expecting this guy to be a superstar. That's the level of expectation for Ike Larsen, is superstar level hype. It's a lot to live up to, but he showed those flashes in limited snaps last year, so give him more snaps, and theoretically he does even more.
4 games as a starter and 11 games played overall, and in that time last year, 2 sacks, 3 tackles for loss, 4 interceptions, 3 blocked kicks, 2 pass breakups, 2 quarterback hurries. And again, limited opportunity on the field. And that's a good list for anybody, and he did that in 4 starts.
Yeah, that's a half-decent starting, maybe below average stats for a starting safety. And he played about a third of a year's worth of snaps, is about the number if he played with injuries and not starting off as a main rotation guy in the first couple of games. Like, that's the production Ike Larsen was able to put up in such a limited time. And so that's why there's so much hype. We've seen so much packaged into just a handful of snaps that he was able to play last year. I mean, even what he did in there, it helped him become College Football News had him as an honorable mention freshman All-American. He was second team All-Mountain West, I believe. This year I think he was preseason All-Mountain West, if I'm not mistaken. And he was named to plenty of preseason All-Mountain West teams by other media outlets, if not the I guess official preseason All-Mountain West. So he's very much a rising star for the Aggies.
Yeah, he was named the Mountain West Freshman of the Week following his performance at number 1 Alabama. He was named the Mountain West Defensive Player of the Week and Mountain West Freshman of the Week following his performance at Hawaii. So this is a guy that he has accolades. I mean, if needed, I mean, he's a guy you could insert him as a wide receiver, and he'd find a way to make plays. He did that at both Logan and Skyview, but certainly they need his skills on the defensive side, and he is a real weapon. When I put my list together, I knew Ike Larsen was a talented player, explosive player, impact player for Utah State. I had a brief second of pause thinking, do I want a safety as my top player of the team? But like I said, it was a brief moment because it was overcome with, how can I not put this guy as the top player on this team? Because every time he's in the game, he's making a play. He is a real weapon for USU, not just on defense, but what he can do on special teams as well. He affects the game in multiple ways. And they need that talent and that leadership in a secondary that has some new faces. I think it is an upgraded secondary with talent, athleticism, and length. But Ike Larsen is the one who holds that all together, and he's the one who's going to be making plays and making hay for USU.
Yeah, I think, because I had him at number one as well. And for me, it's like, who's going to be your number one player? Well, you want it to be a guy who's either shown some level of stardom, high level production. Ike Larsen doesn't quite fit that, but as you said, he was, if you look at per snap, per game averages, you could have argued star production, or somebody who you think will be a star. And in that sense, Ike Larsen was about the only one who kind of at least checked both boxes, where we've seen star level flashes out of him, and we can reasonably expect him to be the top player based on what he can do this year. I don't know if there's really another player on this team that has that same thing where they've either shown they can be a star in the past and we can expect them to be a star in the future.
Yeah.
So for me, Ike Larsen was a fairly easy choice at the top.
Like I said earlier, it was a near unanimous. There was one member, I'm not going to say who put MJ Tafisi ahead of Ike.
It was probably me, and I'm just forgetting.
Well, it wasn't anyone in this room, so that may narrow it down. But clearly, Ike Larsen was either number one or number two on all of our lists. And we excited to see what he does in an Aggie uniform this season. A jersey number change for Ike Larsen. Last year, he was number 19. This year, he's going to be wearing number 6. He's the 5'10" sophomore safety for Utah State. He's number 1 on our lists for top 25 Aggies. Now he's wearing number 6 on his jersey. It's Ike Larsen, the top player in our top 25 Aggies for 2023.